We're here with
Abaddon from Venom Inc.
The Demolition Man from Abba.
Kick It Down, I'm from Judas Priest.
There we go. Jeff, last time actually I spoke with you and we kind of discussed the mechanics behind the band, but there's one question I failed to ask. Will there be any new music? And now that materialized, so when did you start kicking the ideas around?
Well, originally we had no intention of doing a new album. We never even thought about that, because I mean everything was fan driven, promoter driven. There was no management in place or anything. And then when John Zazula came on board as manager, he was having a conversation with us one day, and he said, one great album could change everything for you guys. And we were like, right, okay. So I constantly write. I'm writing all the time. And, I don't go in and practice scales for 8 hours a day. I like to come out with an end result. So I'm always coming up with riffs and stuff. And I'd loaded, I think it was 84 riffs from my phone, from a European or South American tour, backstage bus and all this kind of stuff. Loaded all them into the computer. So there was a lot of ideas already there. So I just started working on the music. And then John called and said that he needed 4 songs, he needed demos. So Tony, Demolition Man, flew over to my studio in Portugal. He put the vocals down on the 4 demos. Sent those demos over to John, and lo and behold, the next thing we know, we're signed to Nuclear Blast. And then Nuclear Blast delivered the deadline for it, so it was all hands on deck. So it was a very intense period, but I think in total I had around 25 songs in various stages of completion, and then just obviously pooled the sort of what I consider to be the best out of that lot. So there's still a lot of material left over. Whether or not that'll see the light of day, I don't know, because I very rarely tend to go back and revisit stuff and see if there's anything there. But one interesting fact for you, Dine Fleischer and Metal We Bleed, the vocals that you hear on the album are still the demo vocals, because he did such a fucking great job on those 2 tracks. When he came over, he wanted to re-record them, and I was like, no. So even if he had tried, I would have pushed them to one side, and then, but Metal We Bleed became literally the template for the vocal sound on that, and I've got to say, I think his vocal performance on this album is the best he's ever done. It's absolutely stunning. I think it's aggressive, but every word is clear, and obviously with his acting background, I mean, he tells the stories great as well, so, and every song's got not a message, every song's got a meaning there, every song's got a tale to it, so, but yeah, it was an intense writing period, very intense, and I did question myself at times, but we got there in the end, and the result is out here, and the reviews have been phenomenal. They've far exceeded any expectation I had, and the fans' response to it has been great as well. And I think it's a good varied album. I don't think we haven't stuck to a formula, and certainly haven't looked back to the past and said, I need a song like this or I need something like that. Everything's fresh. I think the production is big, it's powerful, but it's also got clarity where you can hear all the instruments, everybody's performance on there. So yeah, I must admit, I'm very, very proud of the album. And I can't wait to get out there sort of playing more songs from it, to be brutally honest with you. It's great. Love it.
Tony.
Yes.
Your ideas for the new record, how did you go about contributing, writing this new monster of an album?
Well, I think it kind of put itself together. Because we had the time restriction, it kind of jumped out at us, and Jazula was quite pushing. We got the demos done. From the demo stage, it was a quick turnaround to Nuclear Blast and do the album. Jeff's always piling up riffs and constantly doing that. And because we had this gap, it seemed more relevant to just go, right, if I focus on another area, and then you focus on that, start feeding me what you've got, and when it runs out, then we'll look at that, or if you need something to come forward, then we can contribute that, but just go and see what happens. And it just took its own path. Everything that came through, everything that I heard that came through, I liked as much or as better than the last thing, and it just seemed to be getting more and more more and more cohesive, and the artwork flowed from our live performance, from how we are, what we'd talked about, themes, because we've been playing live for almost 2 years, so we kind of, although normally we'd go, 3 of us would get together, or a band would get into a place and knock ideas around and do all that kind of thing, I guess we didn't feel we had that time, because we don't live in the same area, and so logistically it wasn't as easy to do that, and we've been living on the road, but what I realised quite quickly is things we'd been discussing generally about politics, human nature, everything, and the themes we'd already discussed all them, and it was kind of like a jigsaw piece. It just fell together. For me, it just all fell together, fell into place. And so, when I eventually went to Portugal and we started finishing off lyrics and the themes and stuff, again, they just came. It wasn't hard to look for them. The album cover had been of a design that I'd done like a year before. The artist is a Serbian artist who is amazing and basically does his artwork to raise funds for a charity, Serbian orphanages from the war. So he isn't into metal and all of that sort of religion and anything. He just is a painter, so he'd done this amazing thing which kind of was earmarked for something else, and the minute that we thought about the album, the title track, that image came straight to me, so I fed him down and go, did you finish that painting? And then he went, yes, and as soon as I saw it, that was it, that was the whole thing. So it just made itself, much like the band. The fans made us happen. The fans pushed us to get out there. The fans wanted an album, wanted new music from us, and this is it, so we haven't done anything, we haven't plagiarized ourselves, we haven't tried to create something fake, we haven't tried to capitalize on anything, we've just been us, we're sitting on a bus outside of Reggie's, which we love, in Chicago, about to play, and the bus is quite modest, and we look after ourselves, and we buy our own food, and we do our own things, and we sleep when we can, and we play our shows, and it's like, we're not 5-star hotels, we're not flying in Lear jets, we're not doing all that, we do our business on stage with the fans, and that's where it all works, and that's kind of the album idea as well. When you put it on, you're part of it, you're part of us, and you're the reason we're doing that. Lyrically, that's part of the lyrics to the album. We talk about the ascent and the descent of man, the evolution and de-evolution, of our race and on the planet, and what we're doing to it. And what, we're not preaching anything. We're just saying, fucking hell, have a word. But also we talk about the music, which is what inspires us, what did inspire us, will inspire us, is inspiring us, is inspiring the fans, and the next generation will be inspired by it. So that's the complete thing. But how did we make it? It just made itself, just by us being us. That's what it is, like it, don't like it, but we can't be more honest than what we are. That is us, and that's it.
Cool. Abaddon, what's your angle?
I think the boys have said it all, to be fair. I mean, that is what the album was about. The album was kind of written, I guess Jeff was writing it over the whole period that we were together playing, and I think everybody's very proud of it. I think the record company's very happy with it, and it is it's now what it is. It's now about us playing those songs live and putting the live spin on those songs, and they'll find their own feet live, and they'll find their own feet as it goes along. A lot of the older songs don't sound when we play them live now, they don't sound the way they did on Welcome to Hell or on Black Metal. So I think the live version of this band will always be progressing.
Excellent, thank you. Jeff, from what I understand, you recorded the album separately.
Yes.
You were not present in the studio at the same time. How did that work out? Which is?
It's worked out. I've done a couple of albums with other bands like this. We're in the digital age, so it affords us that luxury. But like I say, I'm based in Portugal. The two guys are at the opposite end of England, and when the deadline came through, it just wasn't logistically possible for everybody to get together and spend so much time, sort of trying to put something together. So, it has been done a little bit differently to sort of previous albums that we've done, where, in the early days I would take a song into rehearsals and we'd knock it around and stuff, and then it would be recorded. So I mean, basically, what happened was I was sort of mixing it as we went, you know, just to try and save a little bit of time. Once we had everything in place, all 11 demos were then sent over to Abaddon, and then there was 11 guitar stems sent without click, and then 11 with click. He played along to those tracks. The files were transferred back to me. They were all inserted. So yeah, I mean that was basically the way that we had to do it this time round. It wasn't. We didn't have that time to just get in together. But like I say, you know, at the end of the day, the proof is in what the fans think of it. And you know, I've heard so many times now, you know, fans coming up and saying, "Oh, this is another classic Venom album," and hey, well, that's the ultimate accolade for me. You know, it's great to see amazing reviews, and I haven't read one bad review at all.
Same here.
But at the end of the day, you know, the ultimate thing is what do the fans think of it, you know, and that comes from, you know, the die-hard Venom fans who have been with us from the beginning, and, you know, the newer fans who are coming on board now, you know, and, you know, everybody loves it. You know, we've signed so many copies of the album, so, you know, it must be doing okay, and, you know, it's had a few chart entries. So yeah, I'm happy with it, you know. Let's see where it takes us.
Do you think it would have turned out a little bit different had three of you had been present in the studio?
Possibly, yeah. I mean,
you can speculate, right?
Yeah, you can speculate about that, like, but I mean, I've got to admit, you know, like, I've always seen my role in the band as, you know, riffs, song. You know, when we were doing the Empire stuff, me and Tony together, and there will be another Empire album, and we're going to finish that one off. It's already in the can. But you know, Tony's great at the logistics sides of everything and organising everything like that. I hate that flipping stuff, you know, like the business end of it. So I've always seen myself as, like, you know, just be as creative as possible. You know, that's, you know, the way I would describe it is, you know, I'll give you the ammunition and you can kick the doors down with it. That kind of thing, you know. But again, when you know, even doing the Empire stuff, when me and him get in the studio together, especially on lyrics and arrangements, it's very, very creative. It's like idea tennis. It's backwards and forwards. And I mean, the track Black and Roll, I had the idea for the chorus, you know, Black and Death and Thrash and Go, hey, it's only rock and roll, because I think there's too many genres now. There's too many genres. Come on, guys, you know, let's hoist the flag of heavy metal again. And then, you know, I had a couple of lines here and there, and we you know, we had a great time putting those lyrics together, and it, you know, it all of a sudden evolved into this tribute to all of our heroes, you know, like taking a line from here and a line from there and all that. Like, it was great fun to do. Yeah.
Excellent. Tony, what is it about Jeff's riffs that makes you play the way you play?
I just like to try and get to the end before he does. I feel that's a strong thing. I think it's you know what it is. It's over the years you've come to realise that it's good rock and roll. You know, we're a, you know, we've been called this, we've been called thrash metal, black metal, death metal, speed metal. All those things were fun, and they're all things to be proud of. You know, and especially the way those genres have taken their own stance in the world and in the world of heavy metal. But it's rock and roll. You know, it comes down to a groove, and if you find the groove on a record, or if you find the groove on a particular night, or if you just hit that stage and the sound's sweet and you hit the sweet spot, and you connect with somebody on stage, be it Jeff, be it Tony, you know, whatever it is, when you get that connection, there's nothing much better, because the crowd get it, you know, especially in small places like this where they can, you know, they can see all the cracks and they can see up your nose, you know. It's you can feel this, you know, the wave coming back off the crowd that you're giving to them, the power, you know, maybe the aggression, but also just the groove, you know, when you get in the groove and you get the thing just flowing nicely, you know. Feels good.
Outstanding. What I'm really impressed with is your profile in the United States, which significantly went up. What would you attribute it to? Because I mean, back in the late 80s, early 90s, you were Venom.
Yeah.
Same lineup.
Yeah.
Yet barely anybody knew that this was happening unless you read British magazines.
Yeah.
There were no releases. Yet now, Venom Inc. is something people are talking about.
Well, I mean, what you've got to realise is this is our third tour of duty over here.
True.
You know? So, I mean, at the end of this tour, we'll have done, I think, within a year or maybe just over, we'll have done 90 shows in America. And even 90 shows in America is still not a great lot because it's, you know, it's a huge country. But I think the way the profile has gone up is basically with our connection with the fans. I think, you know, that you know, going out and meeting them after shows and stuff like that. And I don't mind admitting, you know, that I find that difficult. I'm quite shy and I stay clear of like all the limelight and all that kind of stuff. Like I love being on stage and I love connecting with them there. But I do find it quite overwhelming meeting people afterwards, you know, when you get it's like, oh, you're a legend, you're this, you're that, you're that. And I'm very grateful for it. I never take anything for granted. And, you know, all I've got to say is thank you at the end of the day. And I'm not great in social situations. I don't do all the small talk and all that kind of stuff. Where these two guys, you know, they'll be straight out. I mean, I'll never deny anyone an autograph. I'm not one of those fucking prima donna rock star fucking idiots who will say no, I'm too busy or anything like that. It takes 2 seconds to scribble your name on someone's piece of paper or get a photograph taken with them, you know. So I think that's one thing in our favour that's endeared us to the fans, that we're, you know, we are accessible, we're quite accessible. I mean, I'm not a social media guy, I'm not a sort of Facebook hound, you know, I don't.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, I'm not on there all the time. Whereas these two, you know, they're connecting all the time with people and, you know, talking to people. It's like I say with me, it's not because I don't want to, it's just I find it difficult. You know, you might think, well, you're fucking talking my ass off at the minute, you know, but it's different in sort of interviews.
It's a little bit more intimate.
Yeah, when you've got that, it's a little bit different. But no, I mean, it's, you know, what I've always said, you know, the fans are the most important part of the music industry. And it's as simple as that. They really are. It's not the bands or the record companies or the magazines or anything. You know, you wouldn't be doing this interview if there wasn't a load of fans who were interested enough to watch this interview or whatever, you know.
I'm also a fan.
Yeah, well, well, there you go, you know. So it's, you know, we consider ourselves to be fan-driven.
Absolutely.
It's, you know, without their support, we don't exist. And, you know, I'll be eternally grateful for that. Like I say, I never take it for granted. What's happening to us at the moment, I'm just bumbling about in it. You know, it's overwhelming to me. I'm just thinking, what the fuck's going on? But that happened in the early days as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was exactly the same. It just went boom, and then all of a sudden we were in the limelight, and it's happened again. But another thing you've got to remember is now I think we've done probably in excess of 250 shows. And you know, we're the same with people whether we're in Europe, China, Japan, South America, anywhere. You know, like I say, we'll never walk past someone and go, I'm too busy. You know, that's not on. Because like Tony Dolan says, you know, we see a million of those moments, but that one moment might be his only moment.
Correct.
He might never see us again, you know. So, you know, you cannot deny these people, especially when they turn up with a bag full of albums. That's loyalty, that's support.
Oh yeah,
And,
I see these people too.
Oh, it's amazing. It's incredible, you know. And like I say, all I've got to say is thank you.
Tony, when you committed back to Venom Incorporated, did you expect the revival would be so successful?
To be fair, it had to be at least this successful. It had to have an impetus, it had to have a life to make it work. If it was a struggle, we were struggling with it, I'm not sure that it would have worked. It had to have a certain impetus before people like John Z would have gotten involved, before, you know, the record labels would have gotten involved properly. It needed to have something, in my opinion, of its own. So it wasn't a case that I wouldn't have gotten involved. I would have done, you know, when we did the first thing, and Keep It True, it was was a no-brainer to me to do it. It was good fun. It was good fun. It was, you know, they were playing those old songs again. We were going to have a riot, and then I'd go home and have a drink and have a laugh, shake hands, say goodbye. When we got the opportunity to do it again in China and Japan and whatnot, we thought, okay, that's an extension of this, but that's a big deal. We did, you know, Venom never played there before. We played a little bit in Japan, but and then it just carried on and carried on and carried on. So it's not like I'm having to ring guys up and say, come on, we need fucking work, let's go. It is self-perpetuating, it's doing it itself, you know.
What would you say is easier now that was not as easy back even in the 80s and the 90s?
In the 80s and 90s, we could not have travelled in this vehicle. So when you look at us travelling in this vehicle with our crew and being happy and being able to sort of sit down with the crew and say, oh, you know, that bass drum sound, oh yeah, I'll get it. You know, and the guys go out there, and before you even turn up, they've already addressed the situation. And we're only like 1 week in, and these guys have got it, they've got our backs, you know. And that wasn't, you know, we had good crews in the past, but it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like a happy situation to be sitting in, and you know, you can rent this thing for a reasonable price. Whereas in the past we had to have separate cars, separate drivers, separate hotels, and it was a logistic nightmare, you know. Although there was more money, we would spend it all on stupidity and bullshit, not fucking drugs and rock and roll. We'd spend it on just staying apart. So that's what's easier now. We can actually, like, you know, be more professional about it and be more kind of hands-on with it, and it means that everybody knows what's going on. And by the end of the night, we all look at each other and we're like, you know, band and crew, we all look at each other and go, well, that felt good.
Excellent, thank you. So where do we go from here?
Who knows? I mean, you know, like I've said, none of this was planned or expected. So, you know, let's see where the album takes us. I mean, once we finish over here, I mean, I'll get home on October the 6th. Now, I think we've got a couple of weeks off, then we've got a couple of European festivals at the end of October. Then the first week of November, we've got a British tour, which leads straight into a European tour, which sees us on the road until about 18th of December. And next year, February, we're into Japan and Australia. And John Zazula, when he came to see us, he was talking about getting us back to the States for March. So, you know, I think, you know, this album is probably going to be toured for a good 18 months, you know, before we do anything else. So, but like I say, it's wherever wants to have us, we'll go. And that's been the ethos of this band all the way along, you know. It's like, would you come here and play? Yes. What's the deal? Yes. Okay, let's do it. So wherever this takes us, then great. I mean, you know, myself personally, I would love to see, you know, us, you know, in the big theatres with a nice big stage show, sold out crowds every night. But it's going to take a lot of hard work, especially in today's market. You know, we're going to have to go out there and prove ourselves time after time, and that's what we're doing now. I mean, already this tour, the second tour we did of America was more successful than the first, and now this one has been crazy. The first night in Philly, they oversold the show. It was sold out, and there was more people coming, so they opened the side doors of the venue so the people in the street could actually see the gig. New York, Gramercy Theatre, that was packed. Boston was packed, Montreal, Toronto, Cleveland last night was fucking amazing. And tonight I've heard that this is sold out, or virtually sold out. And when I popped my head in before, it was absolutely packed. So let's just hope this continues and it grows. That's it. I think we're doing it the way that a band would have done it years and years ago, you know, getting on the ground and going out there and playing to the fans. Whereas before with Venom, it was instant success. It really was. It was overnight. You know, we were straight into big sports halls and arenas. Well, that doesn't really happen these days. You know, the market is saturated, so you've got to get out there and prove yourselves. So yeah, I just want to see it grow. I want to take it as far as it can possibly go.
So basically, the hard work pays off.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's all about, you know, keeping your eye on the ball. It's that perseverance, it's the determination, that tenacity to just get out there and keep doing it. You know, I've always said I've got a love-hate relationship with touring. I love being on stage, I love being in front of the fans and interacting with them. But at the same time, you know, I hate being away from home. You know, I'm a home bird at the end of the day, but you know, this is what you sign up for, so you can't complain. And if we weren't out there doing all these dates, then it would be more difficult because we would be thinking, well, fucking hell, nobody's interested. You know, so the fact that we're out there all the time means there's a demand for it. So that's great. That's great.
Tony, what is your angle on touring?
From the very beginning, it's the one thing that I like about being in a band. I'm not particularly. I don't really like being in the studio that much. I don't like being confined. I like being able to get out and see people and meet people, have a drink with people, socialise. And you know, that was from the beginning. I don't think that's changed really. I still enjoy all that kind of side of things. My life's changed a lot recently. I got married and Rachel's expecting a baby, so that's a very different thing for me now. But the touring side of things, after the first couple of days, when you acclimatise to the coach and to the rhythm of the road and the rhythm of people around you and what, you know, the space people need and what people need to be doing, I'm very comfortable with it. I like it. I like this kind of. It's the right pace for me. You know, it's not full on when I'm doing drugs and crazy women and shit like this all night. It's just, you know, a band doing a professional job, but being able to be relaxed with it as well. So I enjoy it.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Cheers.